Welcome, Kiss Army, to episode 20 of the Kiss Army Things podcast. You're with Xander.
And Jeb. As you may or may not have noticed, depending on if you're watching or listening, the camera quality might be different this week. And, it might look not as up to snuff, but there's a very good reason for that. And Xander wants to tell you why.
Yeah, we're actually, on today's episode, we're filming with the official Kiss Flip video camera from 2010 from the Hottest Show on Earth tour. I actually just got it recently, and
Yes.
I figured, rather than this being one more thing that ends up on the shelf, why not actually... use
it at least once.
I love collecting novelty tech. Kiss novelty tech, specifically. And I thought, I just spent a lot of money on this Kiss camera.
Which I didn't know existed.
No, neither did I until about a couple years ago. And I thought, that's a holy grail that I'm gonna get, because I want that camera. I have the disposable camera from the farewell tour.
Right.
Now I have the digital camera. But I thought, you know what? It'd be kind of fun to film with it. So we'll use it in today's episode 20.
And we can claim, I think we have the corner on being the only podcast to film on a Kiss camera. So whoever's keeping score, no one. It counts for something,
Yeah, not much, but I guess it counts for something somewhere. But anyway, so that's pretty cool. We wanted to real quickly get to the Kiss Spotlight. Every week we talk about an album or something that we've been diving into, absorbing. So
sure.
I think I'll go first. I think you went first last time. I can't remember at this point. It doesn't matter. I will go first for the Kiss Spotlight this week. I am spotlighting the first off the soundboard, the Tokyo 2001.
Nice.
And I wasn't really sure what to spotlight until I thought about, what have I been listening to the most? And I have been listening to that off the soundboard a lot since it came out.
Nice.
I think at this point, they must have hit a home run with that one, because, at this point, I think I listened to the Tokyo off the soundboard more than I do any of the other Kiss live albums.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's saying something, because, we're both very fond of Alive 3, Alive 4, Unplugged.
Unplugged is great.
So that says something. Yeah.
And I love Kiss Alive, but I've been listening to... I love Kiss Rocks Vegas.
Yeah.
But I've been listening to off the soundboard, the Tokyo show, a lot, just because, I don't know, maybe it is because it is Eric and Ace. I think it's just the fact that there's new versions of those songs to listen to. Yeah. I love the Firehouse, Paul Stanley, I Got a Feeling.
Yeah. They played well.
They played great.
It's a good show.
It's a good show, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Mm-hmm. I can't wait to see what else they'll do with that. But yeah, so I'm spotlighting off the soundboard.
Absolutely, and I that's one that I keep in my car. I don't really collect CDs anymore, but that's one that I always have in my car. And if I don't know what to listen to, I'm popping in off the soundboard, and I always enjoy that as well. But for me, over the past week, other than Monster, continuing from the previous week, I've still been listening to Monster. But aside from that, there's an album or a couple albums that I revisit every few months, or at least I try to. And I'm referring to some of Bruce Kulick's solo work. Okay. So not Kiss, technically, but it's, Kiss adjacent in a way. It's Kiss related.
Sure.
But I thought it'd be definitely worth shining a spotlight on Bruce Kulick's first solo album, Audio Dog, from early 2000s, can't remember, 2001 maybe.
Wow.
I love that album.
You're digging deep this week.
Yeah, well, I'm a Bruce Kulick fan in Kiss, without Kiss. The Union stuff is cool. I'm just a Bruce Kulick fan as it is, and so that album for me is fantastic. I specifically love the instrumental songs on there. He does a phenomenal job on those. And if anyone out there is curious and hasn't heard a lot of Bruce's solo work, I think that would be a great place to start. Or, I recommend the song Pair of Dice. There's a good one, Change is Coming, and Monster Island. Those are like my favorites off those. And support Bruce Kulick. I'm sure he's got, CDs on his website that you can check out. Good stuff.
Well, I tell you what, I actually am not as familiar with Bruce's solo work as you are, so that's pretty cool that you're bringing that up, because that's something that maybe I could go and revisit, because I'm not as up to snuff on Bruce's solo work. I do know that Union, there's a couple CDs being reissued, the couple Union CDs that
I heard a vinyl, a special
vinyl
copy is coming out on blue vinyl, I think, of
cool.
The Blue Room, which is really cool.
Yeah, I did hear... that I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, John Corabi and the band, fantastic stuff.
Cool.
So
awesome. I wanted to do some quick follow-ups with the last couple episodes that we've been doing. As of today, when we're filming, our last episode 19, just went live. So we're still waiting to hear the responses from those.
Sure.
But just since from uploading the episode, we already have somebody who has dropped us their dream set list.
Oh,
and
nice.
that, of course, was the topic of episode 19, was we said, well, hey, if we had control over the show, what songs would we include in the KISS set list? And so we were asking, well, hey, we're talking about our dream set list. What's everybody else's dream set list? If you had control over the show, what songs would you put in? And so we asked folks to drop some of their either suggestions for songs or their full set list in the comments.
Absolutely.
And we already have somebody who dropped us theirs. So from Paul Scott, he says, love you guys. Been a fan since 76. I was 6 at the time. Never stopped loving them. Here's my dream set list with the Paul that hasn't roached his voice in order.
Good to know beforehand.
Yeah.
Probably give some content. I haven't seen this comment yet,
So Paul's dream set list in order is I Stole Your Love, Deuce, Under the Gun, Making Love, Unholy, Parasite, All Night, Love Gun, Cold Gin, God of Thunder, Heaven's on Fire, Modern Day Delilah, Fits Like a Glove, Lick It Up, Detroit Rock City, 100,000 Years, Betrayed, Rock Bottom, Let Me Go Rock and Roll, and Firehouse to close out the main set. And then for the encore, I Want You, Exciter, Young and Wasted, Black Diamond, Rock and Roll Night.
Now that is a set list.
That is an incredible set list. And I have to say, like, the 80s are being heavily...
Loving the 80s representation. There.
Absolutely. I mean...
Particularly Exciter and Young and Wasted are two of my favorite songs off of Lick It Up.
Yep.
Absolutely. Those are, besides the song Lick It Up, are two of my favorite songs of the 80s probably, period.
Absolutely.
So that's cool.
You have Exciter and Young and Wasted, both from the album Lick It Up. Yeah. You have Betrayed from Hot in the Shade.
That threw me.
That's kind of where I got thrown through a loop. I was like, wow.
I respect that decision because that's not a song that I care for very much.
Well, that's an album that I think, a lot of fans have had a thing or two to say about.
Right.
And then
I like the album, but that song specifically is one that I don't care for. So it's nice to hear that someone out there is getting something out of it so much that they would want to see it live. So I have a ton of respect for that.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to imagine, being at a KISS show and hearing a song like Betrayed being played, which I can't imagine that.
Gene song, yeah.
But that's okay because this is Paul's dream set list. So
Bingo.
As far as the 80s goes, you have Under the Gun, All Night, Heaven's on Fire, Fits Like a Glove.
Fits Like a Glove, yeah. That's one of the better Gene songs off of Lick It Up.
There was a video on YouTube that had been circulating around. I saw it on a bunch of Facebook groups that people posted, and it was talking about all the songs that KISS had played live and how many times they've played them live over the years, and it was tallying them up through the years. Maybe I'll leave a link in the description for that, because that was a really cool video that I know I learned a lot from it. Maybe other fans would like to see. It starts from the very first KISS tour, and it goes all the way up until the end of the road tour, and it details every KISS song that was played at those shows, every song that's been played, and how many times. And one thing that I found very interesting was, as of 2003, Fits Like a Glove was one of the top most played KISS songs live. And that to me just does not make any sense.
It doesn't check out to me, but if someone added up all the data there, then I can't argue with it. That seems incredibly strange.
First of all, somebody did a really good job rounding up all that data, because that's incredible to even go through every single KISS concert, every single set list.
It's a tall
over the course of 50 years, figuring out what song was played and when and how many times. But I just thought it was so wild watching these numbers change, and then all of a sudden realizing, wait a minute, it's 03, and a song like Fits Like a Glove is still in the top 10, top 20, however many it was, I can't remember, songs that's being played live. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. Lick It Up, and then Betrayed. So all these songs from the 80s that Paul's bringing up, that's pretty cool.
I have a side note, and I could be wrong, so correct me, because you would know. Young and Wasted, when they played that back in the day, was that one that Eric Carr sang live?
On the record, it was Gene.
Right.
But live...
So I'm wondering, in this scenario, is Gene going to sing it? I mean, I'm assuming, but, are we getting an Eric Singer feature on vocals here? Would his vocals fit that? Did you have Gene in mind?
Jeb's asking real questions.
I saw that and I was like, oh, man, that rings a bell of, something unique about that. I was like, oh, yeah, live, Eric Carr was doing lots of great vocals back in the day, backing vocals and, doing Black Diamond, but I thought it was, an interesting... Yeah, man, that encore is just complete fire. I mean, like, Exciter is one of the greatest KISS songs. Young and Wasted, one of my favorites off. Look it up again, and he still kind of like our set list has some of those what you might consider staples. He actually added in Deuce. He had Parasite, which we know is one of yours. We had Unholy.
Oh yeah.
Cold Gin was I think was that on both of ours?
Both of ours, yeah.
I would say so. He's still got some of those, and look it up, 100,000 Years. So very cool to see someone give their set list, and I was hoping for something like that would differentiate, from ours, namely the Betrayed. And still cool that a classic Kiss fan who's been a fan since '76 is putting Modern Day Delilah in there. I thought that was very cool because that was one that we both had as well.
Absolutely, and I'm actually going to go ahead and reply to him right now saying, hey, great set list. Quick question, who would you have in mind singing Young and Wasted, Gene or Eric? Just to ask, because that's a good question.
If they played that live, I would go even crazier than if they would have mine, just because of how unexpected some of those are. Like, and Under the Gun is another, it's up there with Exciter, one of those killer 80s songs. It's kind of almost hard to imagine them playing that fast and hard, but man, if they could do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Exciter in a Kiss set list. That'd be freaking great. All Night. Under the Gun is actually probably one of my favorite songs off Animalized. That's just a good one.
And Paul's vocals would need to be, in good form, in top form, to perform those. So I'm glad he added that little, caveat there. But
Definitely.
Yeah, great set list. I'm into it.
And seeing, somebody like Paul's set list makes me think about mine, because mine ended up being pretty safe compared to, I think, set lists like Paul's, or even some other Kiss fans I'm sure can think of all kinds of crazy songs to throw in. Mine was pretty safe. I based mine in reality and grounded it in that way. But thinking about if I were to take some more liberties with it, what would I do? One song I would actually probably add in the set list would be "Love Her All I Can." I know it's not one that most fans
That's like a cruise, a Kiss cruise type of song they would do.
A regular audience, concert goer may not know that song, but if it's a dream set list, I would definitely throw in that song. That song is great.
Now Paul kind of made me realize we could do an entirely separate video on, assuming that they can play and sing everything to like their highest capability during any era. That would be, for me, a different set list.
Oh yeah,
because I would include something like Exciter and stuff like that. So that if we're doing like a dream, a dream set list that could never happen in today's world, that would be an interesting thought experiment as well.
For sure. So thank you guys for liking and commenting and subscribing. Hopefully you guys are subscribed. If not, please do so. We have episodes coming out every 2 weeks. Yeah. But thank you guys for joining in on the conversation. We love reading your guys' comments, hearing your guys' opinions. Today's topic actually is coming from the comment section, believe it or not. On episode 17, we had a comment from David D., who asked the question, two questions. Your thoughts on a final Kiss show in New York? Paul and Doc said this would happen. Do you think that they play Madison Square Garden in December, or maybe a spring 2023 at Mets Ballpark? Yeah. There's the scheduled Vegas residency. They're not stopping, or they're stopping as a touring act, but maybe residency isn't a tour technically. So David D. is wondering about talking about the last Kiss show ever, and then also talking about the Vegas residency, which did get canceled, and will maybe get rescheduled. Who knows where that will fit in the timeline.
Possibly.
But I read that and thought, well, that's been definitely a topic that Kiss fans have talked about. Obviously, is when the show or when the tour will end, and when will the last Kiss show be, but also what would that even look like. And I think we even actually you and I touched on this while we were guests on the Kiss Army Nation podcast with Pasquale and Claudio.
Yeah, definitely check that out.
That episode is actually up now.
Yes.
We mentioned it in the last episode. That episode is up, so check out Kiss Army Nation on YouTube. That episode is up, and we actually did talk about with Pasquale and Claudio a little bit about the last Kiss show and maybe how that would look and what we would want to see or what we can expect.
Yes.
Maybe we could take that and make that sort of the topic for today's episode, because I guess when you think about there being a last Kiss show, what comes to mind? Are there any red flags? Does it make you excited? Does it make you sad? Does it make you nervous, anxious?
I mean,
anything at all?
Naturally, it's sadness isn't really the right word. I think right there with most people when they say it's something bittersweet, because I think by this point, while obviously we would love to see Kiss continue on forever, it is about time. I think it's not a bad time to wrap things up. I mean, kind of is, but they didn't know, because of the pandemic that happened after the fact anyway. But for me, I try to not overthink it. I think with a lot of people, what they end up trying to do is come up with all these different extravagant things that Kiss may or may not do, or that they should do. And I totally get that. And I love engaging in that thought experiment too. Like, well, it's the last Kiss show. Kiss is known for doing everything bigger and better and over the top, and it's going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, well, if it's the last show, it's going to have to do something, right? Maybe, maybe not, because it's all speculation at this point. For me, my expectations are kind of low and reasonable. I'm not too concerned with past members coming on stage and who's going to wear this makeup, or are they going to do this, or are they going to have these two on stage at the same time, and how is this thing going to look, and how is it going to play out? And for me, I just say, well, whatever they do, I'm going to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, if they go crazy, if they get, not that this is going to happen, I actually don't think this will happen. If they got someone like Vinny to come back, now I can pretty much say that is not going to happen. It's not. But if they do something with Bruce, fantastic. If they do something with Ace, I don't care if he's on stage at the same time as Tommy and Eric. Same goes for Peter if he wants to be involved in any sort of way. For me, I just really want one last good Kiss show, whatever that looks like, and that includes whether it's just Gene, Paul, Tommy, and Eric. Mm-hmm. That would be more than enough for me. And I'm assuming they're going to film it or do something with it, right? Because it's an obvious marketing. That would be an oversight, in my opinion. So whatever they do, I'm excited for it. But it would mean a lot to me and maybe our generation. And I mentioned this on the Kiss Army Nation podcast. If they stuck with Kiss as they are now, with Tommy and Eric sort of sticking to their guns and saying, this is Kiss, this is how we're going out, we're proud of this lineup, this is how you want to end it. If they did that, that would satisfy me completely. I don't necessarily need any fluff there. But again, if Peter comes out and does Beth, and that's his only contribution, that would be mind-blowing.
Yeah.
If Ace does Shock Me and that's it, in and out of makeup, doesn't matter. If I want what Kiss wants, or really what Gene and Paul wants. Mm-hmm. And if there's anything I do want, if I were to make any demands, it would be Tommy and Eric are the main backup guys in the band. That they are, there with Gene and Paul throughout the whole thing. Just because just showing that respect to them and how much they've given to the band. I think they deserve that, to be with Gene and Paul. In the last song, specifically, too. On that last song, I think Tommy and Eric, if they were to come out with all four original members and end it that way, I would think that's cool, but it would also kind of irritate me that Eric and Tommy didn't get that last moment on stage like they deserve. So that just went through a lot, but that's really my overview.
Very well said.
Yeah, that's.
And I think I'm with you when I say that I'm trying to keep my expectations in check. I had the same kind of mentality when Monster came out. I was like, you know what? I could sit here and say, well, they need to have a song like this or a song like that, or I want to hear this and I want to hear that. But as soon as you start putting that in your mind, if it doesn't end up being what you think it's going to be, then all of a sudden you either don't like it or it's something different than what you thought, and it can really ruin your experience. And I know that fans, especially with Kiss, it's not just Kiss, I mean Star Wars fans are like, there's lots of fandoms out there that are, we're all just real passionate about whatever it is that we like. But you have to keep that in check. And so I'm with you. I don't need Peter and Ace to come out. I don't need Bruce and Vinny and have this picture perfect sort of like
Yeah, cover all your bases.
And let's try and just pack as much in, because I think the more you try and do that, the more you set yourself up for failure. And I could look at, Dubai for a couple reasons.
That's the first thing that came to mind when you said that.
Because when they did Dubai, number one, I mean, it was great, but when it came to some of the, like, for instance, when they did the countdown to the new year,
it was off time.
with having the guy on stage with them, the guy from Guinness World Record, it really kind of like threw things off a little bit.
Right.
And it felt maybe a little contrived in a way. And it's not Kiss's fault.
Right.
And I'm not even going to blame the guy from Guinness. It just
kind of fell apart.
It just was, As soon as you try and pack all that, okay, we're going to play the biggest show ever on this biggest stage.
We're
going to break world records. We're going to announce the world record. And then for the big finale, we're going to do it on time with New Year's. As soon as you start trying to like make things, work like clockwork, it may end up not working that way.
Right.
Some things may. So with the last Kiss show, I would rather that, like you said, just go out, do a show, play your songs, play from the heart, speak from the heart, talk to the heart,
exactly,
and approach it that way. I think I might have mentioned on the Kiss Army Nation podcast, talking about how it would be structured. I think I mentioned something like, if they were to try and really pack a lot in and make it really complex, I mentioned how they did the Kiss Alive 4, the 3-act structure.
Yeah.
Where, I'm not saying it has to be exactly like that, but a template where, in that show, Alive 4, they played with the symphony.
Yeah.
Or they came out as Kiss, just Kiss.
Yeah.
And they came out with a small ensemble,
and then,
acoustically, and then came out with the full orchestra. And then, of course, when they did Unplugged, they had Gene, Paul, Eric, and Bruce, Kiss, and then had Peter and Ace come out for a couple songs before everybody.
Yeah.
So if they were to, divide it up, I mean, there are options they have of doing it, but as soon as you try and start packing in stuff like that, you run the risk of something going wrong, or maybe just coming off a little contrived or whatever it is. But I think definitely Eric and Tommy deserve to be up on that stage for the majority. I think when they did the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the idea was that, I think Gene and Paul wanted to have Kiss as Eric and Tommy, and then have Kiss with Peter and Ace.
Yeah,
And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Peter and Ace wanted it to just be the originals.
Right.
And Gene and Paul said, look, I get that, but also these guys are the ones that have put in the work over the years.
Absolutely.
They're the ones that have shown up. They're the ones that participate. They're the ones that have, put in, at this point, probably more time than those guys. So why not celebrate both and just celebrate Kiss? And that ended up not happening. So for this last show, I mean, I could definitely see them playing as Kiss, Gene, Paul, Eric, and Tommy, and then having Peter and Ace come out and do a song or two.
I think that'd be great.
And, having Bruce come out. But again, if Bruce is coming out, it's, not makeup.
Right.
Do Peter and Ace wear makeup?
Yeah, that's
if so, do they wear, what costumes do they wear? Do they wear their Destroyer outfits, their Love Gun outfits? Do Gene and Paul wear their Love Gun outfits and to match them? Or do they all just wear their End of the Road tour? It's like, do Peter and Ace come out just as Peter and Ace? That's not fair, because they were, there's so many different things. So much politics when it comes to Kiss. It gets bogged down with the makeup and the members and the costumes and
the eras, times.
And you forget that it's just about the music. It's about the band, the experience, the memories, the fact that it's been a soundtrack to all of our lives, and
Absolutely.
That I think should be the focus. And a big focus of this podcast as a whole in the last almost 1 year that we've been doing it has been the End of the Road tour. We've been following this tour closely with all the cancellations, postponements, and the shows and all the changes in the shows. And we've seen a handful of shows ourselves. So we've just been keeping an eye on it, wondering, what that last show is going to look like.
Yeah.
I would imagine it would be in New York. It would be in the Garden. But there's also this thing, too, where I think the last time they played the Garden, it wasn't quite sold out.
Right.
And everybody had this thing where it was like, oh, ha, 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 Kiss. They can't sell out the Garden anymore or whatever. And so I'm thinking, I don't think it's about selling the Garden. Yeah. I think it's about having as many people as possible there to be in on the event. You wouldn't just have the final Kiss show at some 10,000, stadium.
wherever the last show is, it will sell out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Absolutely.
I think they should go for the Garden just because obviously it's a legendary place. Kiss does have a history there, selling it out who knows how many times. That's famous for other bands playing there. I feel like and it just being New York, it makes sense. Kiss's inception is New York.
They're a New York band.
They dreamt of playing at the Garden. They saw shows there. I feel like it would be kind of strange if they didn't do it there, but wherever they do it, it's not going to make a difference to me. You know what I'm saying? If they play in like Clearwater, Florida or something, that would seem kind of random.
Yeah, it'd be random.
So I'm assuming it's going to be in New York. I expect it to be there at the Garden, but it's really not a deal breaker for me because what does it really matter?
Yeah.
So, like I said, everything remains to be seen, but. And we got to try and go. We have to try and go. I don't know how, we would be able to pull that off. But if the two of us could get out there, or, I'm sure you're thinking the same thing, if we can just go to that last Kiss show, live that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure they're going to do something where it's either a live album or a DVD or
they got to record
a vinyl or something like that.
Documentary.
But here's another part to it, too, because we keep talking about, well, who's going to show up and who's going to wear what and dress like what and be this and that. But also, let's ask the question, what's it going to look like as far as the show? Because we keep talking about how Kiss, or we've talked about how Kiss will always one-up themselves or their only competition is themselves. And when I think about the last Kiss show and it being this big bombastic event, I'm trying to imagine how bombastic it can actually be, considering that, again, going back to Dubai.
Yeah.
When they did Dubai, it was like, yeah, we're playing on a 250-foot stage, and we have the highest flame projections ever, and they have $1 million worth of pyro invested in this, and I think the pyro show after Rock and Roll All Night lasted longer than the song Rock and Roll All Night. I mean, it was a huge fireworks spectacle.
It was massive.
I'm watching it going, this is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So when you think about Kiss one-upping themselves, like, where do you go from there? Like, are they going to have, like,
especially in an indoor venue,
a 500-foot stage? Are they going to have, like, twice as many flame projections? Are they going to, like, have 2 million in pyro this time? I mean, it's like, where can you actually go? Do you need to go? What if Kiss did a smaller scale show? Yeah. Where maybe instead of trying to fill a place like the Garden, what if it was a smaller private show for maybe a few thousand, maybe like a Kiss Cruise size crowd?
That'd be chaotic, but
you think it'd be chaotic?
I don't think.
Well, I'm just imagining, like, they try and go big all the time. Well, what if they did something like Kiss Unplugged, where it was this really small, intimate event?
Oh, that I would prefer that for almost any band. And to see Kiss in that kind of environment for me for the last show or otherwise would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw, at one of the last Kiss Indianapolis Expos, we had Ace's band, we had Bruce and Bob Kulick and Eric Singer. In that really small venue, seeing Ace and Bruce in that intimate setting, that makes it, and most people agree that it's just more, it feels more special that way. And now imagining Kiss do that would be that times 10. So would they actually do it? No, I don't think they would.
Okay.
But as far as how do they top the Dubai, that spectacle, I think it would be very difficult, especially if they're doing it. I'm assuming the last show is going to be indoors. Okay. The Garden's indoor place. Mm-hmm. So they can't really do the flames that go up, past the ceiling.
Right.
And I wonder how much thought the band and management and everyone's giving thought to that. That they might just do something comparable to what they're doing now on Into the Road, or maybe just add a couple more bombs here, a
couple more songs here.
Yeah, I was gonna say they might use that as a template because I mean, the way they're doing it now, it is more than bombastic. It's loud. It's a full Kiss show. So it's gonna be all eyes on Kiss to see, what are they gonna do? How big is it gonna be? How on earth are they gonna top this? Whoever gets to go to that show is going to be very lucky, and so they can see that in person because it's going to be. I mean, it's only exclusive as it is the capacity of that place, but getting tickets is not going to be easy.
Right.
You might have to know someone to get you tickets. But again, I would be perfectly satisfied with if they did something comparable to the End of the Road show, because that is just, it's a full-blown, loud in your face, bombastic Kiss show. With maybe they might add a couple extra pyro things here and there on the last show at the end, maybe just completely let loose as much as you can do at an indoor venue.
Yeah.
But it's a good thought, and I kind of feel bad for the band that they have to think of all this stuff. Yeah, because they know all eyes are on them. How do we outdo ourselves? It's the last show. It has to be big.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough.
There's a lot of pressure. And that's kind of why I wanted to make this episode, is because, fans were always talking about, Kiss needs to do that, they should do this, and I almost would rather just, encourage fans to just sit back and enjoy the show.
Just enjoy the music.
In the sense that, if they don't play the one song that you want them to play, it's not going to be the end of the world. And honestly, I mean...
That's not what it's about either.
If Peter Nace weren't... I mean, worst case scenario, Peter Nace are not involved, and they come to no agreements, and, they don't play anything. Yeah. And you know what? If that happens... everything will be okay. That's
what I'm expecting, and I'm more worried about Peter than Ace. If they managed to get Peter on somehow and they wanted to do something in the makeup, I don't think he would be into it. Now, I don't have any insight on that. That's just me. I think Ace wouldn't mind.
Ace says he would do it for the right money, but
he's been saying that for years.
Well, he said I've heard it since then many times, and I'm wondering if.
And I'm
wondering if what that amount is, and if Gina Paul will be willing to give it to him. My best guess is not.
No, I don't think they need.
No. I don't think they need Peter Nace to be at the last show. I think that if they are at the last show, it's they're throwing a bone to the fans and to Peter Nace.
Right.
I don't think Peter Nace need to be there.
No, I don't.
But if they do, it's because Gina Paul is letting them be there.
Right. Now, I don't. If I had to bet one way or the other, I'd say no. I think. If I had to put money on it, that changes things. But I would expect that Peter Nace don't perform. That's just me.
I would hope so.
I hope so in the sense of them, if they do it right, if they don't overstep the boundary of impeding on, I don't want them to end the show with how most people probably want them to, which is the original four, and I think that's just wrong to me.
I'm not a fan who gets offended or would be offended by seeing both Tommy and Ace together on stage,
that'd be great.
Or Peter. I'm the kind of fan that would encourage that. That to me is like a dream, like a wrestling match, like a dream wrestling match. That's never going to happen. This is like, oh my gosh, imagine 2 Catman, 2 Spacemen,
right?
It's
just more Kiss,
2 drum kits. It's twice as much Kiss. It's twice. It's kind of like what we saw in the most recent Spider-Man. You're a literal dream come true,
right?
So that to me is very exciting to think about, and I would hope that would happen, or that it could happen, but I'm not banking on it. I'm not betting on it. And I'm not getting my hopes up. Yeah. My hopes for the last Kiss show is that Kiss will be able to put on a show that is worth remembering, and or putting on a show that summarizes their career in the sense that this is what we will be known for and remember by, and they're going to play the best rock music and put on a great show.
No doubt.
And that's what I want. I just want a good Kiss show.
Mm-hmm.
And I want them to be able to go out on their own terms and do what they want, and do it in a way that doesn't feel awkward or contrived. Mm-hmm. The last thing I want is for Peter Nace to be involved and then pretend like everything is good and fun, when you start looking at it and you're like, well, they're all just going through the motions,
like the farewell tour.
The last thing I want is for this to be something that we all kind of either want to forget about or I hope that this is a memorable experience. And I'm not putting too much pressure on the band because I don't need to. I'm a Kiss fan for life, and I know it's going to be a good show, and I'm excited to see what happens and what route they actually do take.
Right. And I think it's important to remember, and this kind of goes back to when you said, well, what's the set list going to look like? People might be worried that they're not going to play this song or that song. I would argue that that's not even close to what this is about.
Right.
It's kind of like the documentary thing. Well, we can sit there and split hairs about what they said, what they didn't say, how accurate this was, or what footage they put in.
They should have said this or mentioned this or talked about that more.
But that... Really, after the fact, I had to realize that wasn't the point. The point is, and this goes with the last Kiss show, it will just be a celebration of the band.
Party.
It'll be a celebration of all those tacky Kiss songs. It's going to be Dudes Shout It Out Loud, Detroit Rock City, Rock and Roll, and I look it up. It's going to be all those songs. We already know that. That there's no reason to get, upset about the last Kiss show.
Yeah.
As far as the songs that they're going to play, because we already know what songs they're going to play, and we already know and love all those songs.
Oh yeah.
So I think people, if anyone's dwelling on that, I'm just thinking, just leave all of that behind. If you're going to the last Kiss show, just be glad you're seeing Kiss and hearing these songs played by Gene and Paul.
Yep.
For the last time.
And Kiss, at the end of the day, the only thing Kiss is entertainment. Mm-hmm. It is music and it is a concert, and we have spent a lot of money, a lot of time. Mm-hmm. We know a lot of people that are that we only know because of Kiss.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, Kiss is just entertainment. Yeah. Allow yourself to be entertained. That's what I do. Exactly. Because when I go to a Kiss show in 2022 or 2021 or whenever, you can get bogged down by many a thing.
True.
This isn't the original Kiss, Paul's voice, or the tracks, or I want to hear this song versus that song, or these costumes, or whatever. You can, in anything, you find a reason to complain about anything, but I don't see a reason to do that at all.
No, and every time I've ever had any of those thoughts prior to entering the venue has all been washed away.
Yeah.
As soon as the opening song comes out and you see them, and that's when you realize, okay, everything I thought was nonsense. It's Kiss. It's happening right now. I'm just going to enjoy it, because you can't not enjoy it.
No.
Unless you're.
You can force it. You can take yourself out of it for many different reasons.
Right.
And I'm somebody who would rather just be entertained. If I like Kiss, I'm just gonna like Kiss.
Yeah.
I think that we put so much pressure on the band to do these things and do it in a certain way that I wonder if maybe that's what sometimes holds Kiss back in a way.
Oh. Maybe.
Because we talk about when Kiss does new albums. Kiss hasn't done any new albums because every time they do, you put it under a microscope and, well, it should have been that, should have been this, and they say, well, we're not going to do any albums at all. And then they do the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it's like, well, Kiss, you should do this, do that. Well, we're not doing anything at all.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, it ends up being...
It's just what Gene and Paul wants, and the sooner you accept that, the happier everyone will be. That sounds harsh, but that is just the reality.
Well, it is
their
the reality.
Band. They're going to do whatever they want to do, and I'm happy for them.
And I can only hope that Peter and Ace are involved. I can only hope that Bruce is involved. I think it would be cool to see Vinny involved. I'm not banking on any of this.
Yeah.
But, to think about all living members of Kiss being on stage performing and or bowing at the same time.
Sure.
Is a really nice thought. It really is.
Beautiful. I remember when they did the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they didn't perform, obviously, but just seeing the four of them stand next to each other made me emotional.
Sure.
I remember watching that and I did not think I would feel this way.
Right. And I can't imagine a 70s fan who was growing up with that.
Exactly. And same thing goes for maybe a lot of those older Kiss fans who was there around the Unplugged, and they saw that, they bought the album and heard Peter's voice on a Kiss album again. That probably was an emotional moment.
Sure.
That, I imagine, if they do something like that, would be tenfold.
Yeah, and anything to do with the original four guys together is going to be special. I know a lot of fans will be upset if it doesn't happen. But at the same time...
They shouldn't expect it.
Nobody should expect anything at this point.
And that's why I'm not going to be upset if they don't, because I don't expect it.
No, exactly. And...
I would encourage it.
But this has been a nice, fun, quick discussion just talking about the last Kiss show, what may be, what could be. Mm-hmm. But as far as Kiss being... because we talked about, David's comment is what kind of brought this whole thing on. He's talking about the Vegas residency. He says, they're stopping as a touring act, but residency isn't a tour technically. Personally, I don't see Kiss becoming a residency band.
Yeah.
I don't... Perhaps it is possible. You can't rule anything out with Kiss.
Yeah.
But I don't know that Kiss would just be a residency act. I guess anything is possible.
Does he mean, or do you think he means just doing... the reason, because they canceled the last one. Do you think he's talking about doing one more, or doing that as a continuous thing, like some acts stay in Vegas?
Yeah, I could be wrong, but to me it sounds like David's thinking that rather than just being a touring act, they could be a residency act in Vegas.
Okay.
And do that continuously. And I mean, yeah, it could work and probably would work, but I don't know that would happen.
I don't think Paul would want that. Again, I have no insight. I'm going off of nothing.
Yeah. Pure speculation, or just pure,
To me, it's possible that they maybe make up for that show that they canceled. I wouldn't hold my breath for it, but yeah, definitely don't think they would stay in Vegas to do that. But I mean, from then on out, after that last show, it could be. Well, I was going to say the cruise, but they've already announced that they're done playing on the cruise after this one in 2022.
Right.
So, wow, it might be the last Kiss show, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Probably in makeup, assuming Gene and Paul, Tommy and Eric are going to be in makeup.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that Kiss would be a residency act, but I'm wondering when and if they will reschedule Vegas because.
At this point, I'm not sure if they're even going to do it.
Well, I know we have South America coming up,
yes.
And then we have Europe potentially.
Europe,
we have
there.
shows in the States first.
Yes.
Then Europe potentially, and then Australia hopefully.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks.
That's in the fall. After the fall, we don't really have anything scheduled yet that I know. The last show that I knew of was in Amsterdam. Well, now we have Australia's been rescheduled. So
exactly.
If Vegas does get rescheduled, it will be in the winter of 2022, or it'll be in the very, very early 2023.
What a tough spot to be in.
And I just don't know if it'll happen.
Well, of course, there's the Europe situation.
Yeah, there's Europe because I mean I'm thinking if Europe doesn't happen because of situations over there, which I hate.
Yeah.
Can't stand it. If issues happen over there and that tour gets canceled, then yeah, Kiss will definitely be going to
wrapping it up a lot sooner.
To 2023, and I don't see. We'll see how that happens, but I don't see them continuing on past 2023.
Yeah, no,
certainly.
Now I take it. I mean, it'd be 50 years.
It'll be 50 years in less than 1 year. Yep,
which is insane.
Insane to think about. But just a great, quick conversation to talk about, something to think about. Be sure to leave your guys' thoughts and comments on what you suspect might happen for the last show, maybe what you might like to see. I know that there's a lot that could go into that. I thought it was kind of interesting talking about the more of a chill set as opposed to this big bombastic show.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, so let us know what you guys think. Thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything you want to follow up with as we...
No, other than just chime in with what you think or would suggest for the last Kiss show, what your expectations are, and continue the conversation, as it were.
Yep, and it's been really fun talking about Kiss and, of course, filming with the official Kiss camera. Again, that's pretty cool. You know what's funny is that when I was putting in the settings, putting in the date and time, that thing does not go past 2020. I couldn't even put in the date. I couldn't even put the correct date because the settings don't go past 2020. So I thought that was kind of funny that thing is...
And it's 10 years old now.
It's 10 years old. But, again, just something fun to do. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Yeah. Be sure to subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Like us on Facebook if you want. We are all over social media. Check out our episode with Pasquale and Claudio on the Kiss Army Nation.
Definitely.
We will be back with episode 21 coming up very soon. Thank you so much for joining us on Kiss Army Things episode 20. My name is Xander.
And I'm Jed.